Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. This is Colleen Fillmore, and let us go ahead and get set up here. We're on a little bit early, but that is okay. We know that we do have some attendees already here, so we're going to go ahead, and if anyone has questions at the end on maybe something that they missed, that's perfectly fine. We can wrap around and present again. So we do want to welcome everyone to this webinar. My name is Colleen Fillmore, and I am the Idaho State Department of Education Child Nutrition Director. Along with me today is the entire CNP State Agency team. So please begin submitting any questions, and we will address those at the end of the webinar. We do want to welcome everyone into the year of 2021. It is just amazing that we are here in January. Hard to believe that half of the school year is done. I am certain time is flying by for you folks as it is for us in the state agency. Everyone is extremely busy with all of the very unique COVID responsibilities. We do want to continue to tell you how much we appreciate everything that you are doing out there. We know that you are busy. We hear from everyone in the Department of Education how proud they are of the child nutrition staff throughout the state of Idaho. So thank you very much for everything. I do want to remind everyone, if you would please put your phone on mute until it's time for you to talk. It kind of sounds like I'm hearing some background noise. So thank you very much for that. Just as a few updates before I hand this off to the rest of the team to talk about some important information. Sean Charters in our office is in charge of a technology improvement grant. It's called a TIG grant. And this is one of the largest grants that we have ever written and been awarded in child nutrition. It's a wonderful grant, and it focuses specifically, just the name says, on technology. So over the holidays, Sean unveiled a technology improvement mini grant application. And those eligible for these mini grants are really all of our sponsors. We are so happy about that because not all of our grants can really be awarded to everyone across the state. So these mini grants are for our child and adult care food program, our summer food program, our national school lunch, and that also includes those that are currently running the seamless summer program. So it really is for everyone. We are thrilled that we can open this up to everyone. As we said, you should include in your application funding to purchase new or upgraded existing software and/or hardware systems and/or technology services, such as maybe you have a training program that is technology related, and you can also apply under those circumstances. A complete application packet must be submitted to the state agency no later than 5 p.m. Pacific time, January 29th of this month. So this funding was made available through USDA. Like I mentioned earlier, Sean wrote and was awarded this grant. Idaho will allocate grant funds to applicants to purchase technology tools that will enhance or replace your current system. This is done by a competitive grant process. So you're going to want to make sure that your application is very thorough. In the past, Sean has had a lot of requests, and we only have so much money. So make sure that it is very complete and you follow the instructions that Sean has given you. So all SFAs must continue, even under this circumstance, to follow all federal, state, and local procurement laws when purchasing equipment with grant funds. Now, Kat Forsey in our office is in charge of our child nutrition procurement reviews in that section. So if you have questions on any of the procurement, you can go ahead and talk to Kat about that. So all awards are contingent upon available USDA funds. And if you do have any questions, please ask Sean, since this is her grant. So the next thing I want to remind everyone is Heather will be having her next town hall meeting this month, January 20th, from 2:30 to 3:30. These town halls have been wonderful. Heather and the team have done a really super good job. So please put these on your calendar and join us for any important updates. So lastly, the Idaho Child Nutrition Department of Ed, we are working on a PEBT proposal. And just this morning, we sent our State Department of Education proposal over to partners for this program, which is Department of Health and Welfare, DHW. So we're very happy that we got our proposal over to them today. It is a very large program, and if you've not heard of PEBT before, this is a program. An EBT card is a food stamp card. The P in front of the EBT stands for pandemic. So this is a program that's going on during COVID-19. And more information will be coming out on this. We did a survey in December. 2 different surveys came out from the Department of Education. One of them went to all the superintendents. The other one went to all of our child nutrition program directors. And we gathered information from these 2 surveys, used that information as part of the proposal that we put together. So if you helped participate in those surveys, thank you very much for the input. It was very helpful. Okay, so at this time, I am going to hand the information, or excuse me, the floor, if you will, over to Heather to discuss the meal pattern waiver and some other things. So thank you very much. Heather?
Yes, good morning, everyone. So I wanted to make the announcement. This came out via broadcast email earlier this week, but just as a refresh and to give a little bit more context, for those of you that have requested meal pattern exemptions, which are allowable for this school year, those actually were good through December 31st, which means at this point, any exemptions that have been approved have expired, but there is still the opportunity to continue requesting those and being approved for the rest of the year. Those were taken on a case-by-case basis, and USDA did not give the state agencies authority to grant a blanket approval across the course of the year, which is why those were somewhat temporary. They're based on the context in which the request was made. So given that we are through the holidays, starting fresh here in January, that request form is something that I'd be happy to show you where to go to do that. And it's actually on our website. If you were familiar with the email that I sent out, there was a link in that, but not wanting to send everyone back to their email, chasing down a link that has challenging search criteria, I just wanted you to know on the Child Nutrition Program's website, which this is a great page to have bookmarked on your devices so that you can get here readily. There are lots of resources on our website. You can scroll down. It's actually right on the landing page. This SY 2021 SFSP SSO meal pattern waiver, that is the request form. And I'm hoping everyone's seeing my screen. We have the request form as a Microsoft form. So it's fairly similar to a survey. You'll be filling it out, entering your program information, saying why you need a meal pattern exemption. That request will come to us. We'll get notification. We approve those on a weekly basis. So we gather all that we've received. Once a week, we'll review them, go through and approve those we can, and you'll get a letter. And so if you submit a new request, you will get a new letter, and that letter from this point forward will allow meal pattern exemptions through the end of the school year. This waiver from USDA is good through June 30th of 2021. So any existing challenges or restrictions you're seeing in food chain supply, staffing, packaging, all of those issues can be addressed if you're unable to meet the meal pattern. And this is the avenue you would go through to do that. Colleen had made an announcement that I wanted to follow up on, that in conjunction with the Technology Innovation Grant and the opportunities you have to apply for funds to support technology solutions, we are still offering the Idaho Online School Meals application. And that is something that if you wanted to implement this year, you are welcome to do so. This is a little bit of information about what was sent out last year when folks were looking at setting up an online free and reduced application. Now, of course, it's not required that you collect online free and reduced applications in order to provide meal benefits this year for those operating seamless summer or summer food. However, there's many advantages to collecting free and reduced applications, and USD actually just came out with a Q&A that permits it and says that this is an allowable form for identifying eligibility of individual students, which could then be used to help, what's the word I'm looking for? Help not confer benefits, but grant benefits under that pandemic EBT that Colleen was talking about. So if anyone is thinking that free and reduced applications is an avenue you want to go down for this year, you're still welcome to request a consultation with Nutralink, which is the company that's providing the online free and reduced application for Idaho on a statewide basis. This is something that for this year and next year, the state agency is paying for through grant funding. So if you're interested in this, I'm happy to talk to you. If you are thinking about it for next year, that is also an opportunity. Those conversations don't need to be taking place now, but just wanted to give everyone a heads up that this is still an option. And if you're looking at trying to streamline collecting free and reduced applications for this year or next year, more than happy to provide this service for you. So those were my notes, and I will hand it over to Mary Ann. She has some updates on summer food.
Thanks, Heather. Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday break. Recharge your batteries. We wanted to just share just an update regarding the reimbursement rates for this calendar year. This information came out as a broadcast email earlier this week, so please be sure to check your inbox for the information, but we wanted to just provide a quick info regarding the rates. And as mentioned on the agenda there, that the handout is also available, or the document is also available on the handout section of this webinar. So the combined rates for calendar year 2021 are the following rates. Please note that this will vary depending if you're operating a rural or self-prep site versus all other types of sites. So the rates are, for breakfast, it is between 2.415 to 2.4625. For lunch and supper, it's between 4.25 to 4.3175. And for snack, it is between 0.9975 to 1.02. So if you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to the summer feeding team or Melissa Cook. The information is all updated on my Idaho CMP. And with that, I will pass it on to Ms. Linda. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to let you know that we just released SP05 2021, which are Q&As, and I'm going to go over a brief synopsis of what is in the Q&As and give you time to look at anyone that you think is relevant. So the Q&As are pretty brief. There are only 10. They deal with, the first question is leftover food or milk donations. So you could donate to any 501c3 organization. Question 2 is CACFP at-risk center attendance and how you can count the children in attendance, even though they may be learning at home. So Kim would be able to answer that one a little bit better than I could. The third one is counting as income. So if you are doing free and reduced applications, you count the income from stimulus payments. So you don't count the income from stimulus payments, but you do count additional unemployment payments. That is included in a family's income. So if normal unemployment was $600 a week. And somebody is not on mute. Could everybody check to make sure your phone is on mute? I hear rustling of papers. So if the normal unemployment amount was 600 and the federal government gave an extra 300, the whole 900 in unemployment does get counted. So that is question 3. Question 4 is about amending your permanent agreement. So it's not necessary to amend your permanent agreement unless you're adding a program. So you can email us if there's any question on that. 5 is sort of how we're going to determine severe need, because most of you are on SFSP and SSO. In 2 years, severe need might be a challenge for us to determine for you. So it is giving some options on severe need. Question 6 is application collection and verification, which I find very important. So if you did collect applications, you have to still do verification. If you had any applications this year prior to October 1st, you still do verification as you normally would. Number 7 is applications are now allowed to be collected per this memo, and they do recommend that you do collect them for PEBT. And we're currently working, as Colleen said, on the PEBT plan with health and welfare. And we have a question into USDA about the carryover of applications and do not have any further guidance on that one. Number 8 is the fresh fruit and vegetable eligibility determination for next year. So we will be using March 2020 data to determine eligibility for the upcoming year for fresh fruit and vegetable programs. So you will hear more about that. I believe it's in April or May. 9 was equipment grants. About equipment grants. So they are now allowed to be distributed to those on summer food or seamless summer. And number 10, this one was best for last. If anybody has received the Paycheck Protection Program loans from the federal government in child nutrition, this question gives you a guidance framework on allowability of using CN funds to pay it back, and what funds you can use and what funds you can't use. So that is a high-level overview of this Q&A. If you have any questions, please call our office, email us, let us know, and we will try to the best of our ability to answer you. And with that, I will turn it back over to Colleen.
Can everyone hear? I hope you can hear me. It just says something about unmuted, but we'll go through the questions right now. We do apologize. We did start the webinar slightly early, and so for those of you that did get on time but we had already started, I'm going to just briefly go through what I talked about at the introduction so you do have the information that's needed. Wanted to let you know that a technology mini grant application was unveiled over the holidays by Sean Charters in our office, and you will want to talk with her if you have any questions about that mini grant. All CMP sponsors are eligible to apply for that. It is based on a competitive grant, so you're going to want to make sure that you have all the information that is needed. The application needs to focus on technology needs, either hardware, software, or some sort of technology training. Sean has the due date for this by 5 p.m. Pacific time on January 29th of this month. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask her. Again, it is competitive. It's contingent upon the availability of USDA funds. And also, as a friendly reminder, you need to always follow your federal, state, and local procurement laws. And Kat in our office is the one that oversees the procurement. So if you have a question on the procurement side, you can ask her. And then the last two things that I mentioned this morning, in case somebody missed this, was also the town hall that Heather also mentioned on January 20th of this month from 2:30 to 3:30. And lastly, and Linda already brought this up, is that we are working with Department of Health and Welfare on a PEBT plan. And so we're hopeful to get that plan approved here within the next few weeks and start moving on that ASAP so we can get money to those that are in need and are eligible for that program. So that was everything that I did go through. If you have any questions on that, again, you can ask Sean or Kat, or certainly you can email or call me too. That would be great. Okay, so the next question. Has any information been provided regarding eligibility rollover from the beginning of the year on free and reduced lunch eligibility? Is it still the 30 days as when we operated NSLP, or since we are operating seamless program, do all the days roll over until we operate NSLP next year? Now, I'll let Heather answer that. I think that Linda went through that a little bit too, but Heather, do you want to add any more?
Actually, I think Linda did a really good job covering that. Basically, we're still waiting for guidance from USDA on how that's supposed to be implemented. There's some longer-reaching complications that just need to be ironed out. So while 30-day carryover does have some written guidance on it in the Q&A, just what that means and where different districts are in terms of how they have implemented it, there's really not any one-size-fits-all answer on that one. So yeah, still waiting for additional guidance based on certain circumstances in different districts.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Next question, any word on free and reduced applications and the effect on title funds? So Heather, I'll give that one to you too.
Sure. Currently, if you're using child nutrition, time and effort and labor to determine eligibility status, that is to be used for the child nutrition program. So in terms of collecting income information from families in order to inform other federal programs, that would need to be done outside of the finances of child nutrition. There are income surveys available, but that is not currently permitted through USDA to be an allowable expense out of child nutrition programs. So really that'll be a local district level decision.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Hey,
next question.
Colleen, can I add to that one?
Absolutely.
So the effect on title funds, if you aren't collecting free and reduced apps, your title programs may show a smaller amount of free and reduced status, and that is truly through the Department of Ed to issue that guidance, not our office. So you may want to ask your title programs if that is the question you're asking.
Yeah, good input by both of you. And if the person asking this question wants to do a deeper dive with that, just give our office a call. We're happy to work with you on that. Okay, next question. Are all other waivers good through the end of the year? And so Heather, you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I wanted to provide the clarification that when I said there is the opportunity to request a meal pattern exemption, no other waivers are impacted by this. If you received an approval letter, notification that your waiver request for operating seamless summer and non-congregate meals and mealtime flexibilities, all those are stable and stay good through the rest of the school year. The only waiver that you would need to request new permissions for or approval is the meal pattern waiver request.
Okay, great. Thank you, Heather. Okay, next question. Can you provide any further information on the federal stimulus money earmarked for child nutrition programs? We actually have contacted our USDA reporting office in Western Region, and they are going through this at this time and are going to give us guidance hopefully sooner than later. So we do not have anything right now, but we've kind of gone through some formulas, and Linda built a spreadsheet how we think that might be unveiled, but we need to wait for further guidance from USDA before we really share anything. Okay, next question. Good morning. What steps must be taken if interested in adjusting meal rates to reflect 2021 price adjustments? And Mary Ann, we'll have you answer that.
Perfect. Thanks, Colleen. The updated reimbursement rates for calendar year 2021 are for sponsors operating the summer feeding program. The 2021 rates will take an effect beginning this month, and it is automatically updated in my Idaho CMP's claim section. So once a sponsor submits their claim beginning this month, it is actually automatically, they will automatically receive the 2021 rate. So thank you, Colleen.
Yes, thank you, Mary Ann. And TJ, I see your name there too. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to weigh in on this because in rereading the question, I'm not quite so sure that the question was about the rates paid out as much as what meal rates would be charged. So my recommendation for this particular individual, because I know that they are not operating the summer feeding program, would be to give our send their question to our office so that we can make sure we're actually addressing it. I think what they're trying to get at is how much money would they charge for meals when we go back to charging for meals as opposed to what rate is paid for reimbursement.
Okay, thank you so much, TJ. We do want to make sure that we're interpreting the questions correctly. So again, what TJ said, I would agree with. Go ahead and give our office a call if we're not really interpreting your question quite correctly. Okay, the next one. Once the COVID waivers are over, will we be using 2019-2020 eligibility data for area-wide for the 21-22 school year, or will we have to use this year's data? Great question, and I don't know that we have the answer to that yet. Does anyone else feel that they have input that they can provide?
Hi, Colleen. This is Heather. So depending on in which area you want to be using the free and reduced rates from any given year, there's a little bit different guidance, and there is some flexibility granted to state agencies in terms of which year we'll be using for which different data sets that came out in that recent Q&A, the SPO5 that Linda was going through. So some internal conversations need to happen, but we do have at least enough information to start formulating a plan for that. So nothing final, but it is something that our office is considering.
Very good. Thank you, Heather. Okay, so it looks like that is all the questions at this time. So for the state agency team, is there anything else that you can think of that we might want to touch upon before the webinar ends?
Colleen, if I could just jump in for a second. We didn't provide this as agenda item. This is TJ, but I did, the USDA Foods team has started getting questions about ordering cycles and reimbursement rates, or I'm sorry, entitlement rates and those kinds of things. So I just wanted everyone to be aware that we will be sending out a USDA Foods team timely update email. So watch your broadcast email for that, so that you can get some additional information about product procurement, what will be available, when the Web SCM catalog will be open, and those kinds of things. So thank you for that opportunity.
Yes, thank you, TJ. And I do want to remind everyone that the state agency attempts to deliver information in several different modes, because we know that not everyone can always get on all the webinars or the town halls. So we do have the broadcast email system too. So we're trying to make sure that we get information out in several different ways to meet your needs. So if you can think of anything that you feel that we could improve upon to get the information to you, please let us know. The second we get the information, we do begin doing broadcast emails and everything to get that to you as soon as possible. So again, we appreciate all of your hard work. We know that you're busy serving the students in several different ways, and so keeping up with the USDA regulations we know is very challenging because we ourselves also have that same challenge. So for the state agency team, any other input that you would like to provide before we end the webinar? Okay, it looks like we did get, oh, okay, somebody did mention that they do know that the webinars are recorded, and where do they listen to those if needed? That's a wonderful question, and thank you for bringing that up. So these webinars are located in the Department of Education YouTube account, and you can view these without having a username or password for YouTube. You can just do a Google search for the Idaho State Department of Education YouTube. There's also a link on our website that takes you to this area. And there is a very, very long list of not only our webinars, but the town halls and several other documents for child nutrition. The list is rather long because everything is up there since the beginning of COVID. So make sure and look at the date of the webinar that you want to either re-listen to, or if you missed it completely, you can listen to the whole thing for the first time. So thank you for bringing that up. Okay, and Jessica just added the URL link there, so thank you for doing that, Jessica. Or Jamie, I'm not sure which of the two. They're both kind of running the PowerPoint today. Okay, so I believe that is it. We don't have any other questions, and it sounds like we've covered everything on our end. Again, thank you so much for all of your hard work, and let us know if there's anything we can help you with. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.